the other day in the hallway. You're singing "Oh Happy Day."
One word prayer. Justice, where are you?
Hey, welcome to Just for Serve TV. What's going on? Where you been?
Happy to where you been. We're so excited to be back. It is January 3rd. I mean, we've been away from true crime for a little bit since before Christmas. Actually, don't I look rested?
Oh, yes.
I did rest, actually. I spent 12 days with my husband. We are still married, you know. And our dog, Tubi, the poodle. You know, if you follow me on my Instagram at Kenny Baden, you all know it's Tubi's account. He's the star of the family.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm glad.
He's much better mannered than his owners, but that's you know. So it's been what, a couple of weeks? There's been one or two things going on that we're just jam packed with things to do today. But before we get started, can I do something before we get started?
Sure. What are you doing?
Okay,
Okay. Well, wait a second. He left me alone. Hello, everybody. He left me alone. I don't know what this means. He has something up his sleeve. This Michael Bryant. All right. So we have a lot going on this show, as you know. What are you doing here?
Okay, so
What?
please quit whining about not having your mug. Okay, and while you're at it, have this little Justice Serve TV thing here.
Look, guys, look who's here.
There you go.
In the same spot.
All right, so see you later.
You did it, family. You got me. You got me my own mug. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited. I can't. I'm not sure I can. He didn't tell me he was. What can I say? Michael Bryant didn't tell me he was doing this, but later on, I thought I had a surprise for him, and I don't know if it's probably going to pale by comparison. Mine involves Elon Musk, just to let you know. But yes, we have a surprise starting this show, and we have a lot of surprises on this show, and you're going to stay with us. I don't know. He's got to get back to where he is, but we were together. There you are. But she can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Hold on.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Now I can hear you. All right. I don't know if I can get out of this position, so you better take over the show and then the hosting.
So where should we start? Boy,
anywhere you want.
Let's start with what happened really just a few hours ago. That was the Wagner case, and just as a refresher for folks who, probably still struggling with this crazy case. Quit gloating over your new mug there. That, by the way, is the one with the black handle, inside, which is different than the other. We have two different versions. That one's just for you there. This was back in 2016. People will remember this out of Ohio, Piketon, little town there. Everybody knows everybody. And the Roden family and the Wagner family coexisting, had kids and relatives and everybody all connected. Well, at one point, one of the Wagners and one of the Rodens had a child, and seemed to be a little custody dispute arose. And so as a result, to cut to the chase, 8 people gunned down, killed, 4 different crime scenes, 8 people murdered. Even when they were in their beds with a little babies, one, I think a 4-day-old baby and a 2-month-old baby, that they were spared. But it was carnage everywhere. And of course, at first, people thought, well, this had to be some sort of maybe drug related. There was a little bit of marijuana cultivation going on in the family. So that was what people probably hoped. They had no idea that it would be the Wagner family wiping out the Roden family because of this custody battle. Unbelievable. So that's 2016. Along the way, we have a couple of plea deals and we have a trial of, and again, there's so many Georges in this case, it gets confusing. George Wagner IV was tried, convicted, sentenced to life without the possibility of parole in the deaths of these 8 folks. And then today, on the eve, sort of the Billy Wagner trial. Billy Wagner is George Wagner's father. His name also is George, but he's known as Billy, thank God, helping us keep some of the names sorted out. He's going to trial soon. There's a couple of pending appeals. The trial date was originally the 27th of this month. That is not going to happen. But the judge, Judge Hine, is one of these traveling judges, and they brought him in, and he's really pushing to get this thing going. He's agreed to a change of venue, so we don't know where it's going to be. It's not going to be at the Pike County Courthouse. The DA has been fighting this guy every step of the way. She has tried to get him thrown off the case twice, directly and now on appeal. That's been denied.
Oh, there's always a problem when you try to get the judge thrown off the case and you're stuck in front of him.
Of course, and this guy is going to travel with the case. So it's not like in Pike County he's saying, I'm done. No, the case is going to travel with him wherever it ends up. And based on what I'm seeing and hearing from this judge, it's sooner rather than later. He wants it done. Part of the thing that's been kind of a drawn out problem is this sentencing, because Angela, that's the mother of these lovely children, and Jake, her younger son, have not been sentenced. They took plea deals, and the deals basically were designed to take the death penalty off the table, and it did. She actually pled to everything but murder, Angela, because she was the puppet master, according to the prosecution, and really according to the testimony of those that have testified in the prior trial. Remember, any plea deal generally conditioned on testifying, right? Well, it was weird because why would they sentence them, Jake and Angela, if they were still going to testify in Billy's trial, which is to come? It could create some interesting issues because now they've been sentenced, and we're going to get to that. Right. And so, what do you do? Do you negate the sentencing if they refuse to testify? I don't know. It could create some interesting issues. But at this point, it's believed they will both testify, if called, at Billy's trial, and that would fulfill their requirements. The plea deal has now been done, but not perfectly. And that's what we want to talk about today.
What happened?
Before we get to
I know there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. Before we get to the details of the plea deal, and specifically the deal with Jake, remember the deal that's been offered by each side is life without the possibility of parole. So the question is, did that get rubber stamped by the judge? The other deal for Angela was 30 years. Okay, she didn't plead to the murder, so it's a bunch of obstruction charges and gun charges and all kinds of. She was not the trigger person. She was mom. She was Ma Barker. She was at home setting this whole thing up. As with any sentencing, of course, you've got victim impact statements.
Right.
So I think before we launch into some of the, kind of the details of what we would expect in a normal, plea arrangement sentencing, let's look at one of this is Andrea Shoemaker, who she is Hannah Roden's mom. Okay, she had her opportunity to address the court. I think,
and Hannah was gunned down holding a baby in her arms, if I recall, right?
The baby was just like next to her,
right?
And Andrea Shoemaker's daughter, Hannah, was shot 5 times in the head. So let's listen to what she had to say to the defendants here. Again, this is the defendant.
The court reporter is the most important person here.
This is both Angela and Jake about to be sentenced.
Andrea Shoemaker, I'm Hannah Hazelgilly's mom. You 3 helped plan, carry out, and murder my grandson, Ruger, who was 6 months old, laying in the bed between his mom and dad, Frankie Roden, Hannah Hazelgilly, let alone your granddaughter's mother. How greedy of a grandmother are you? How greedy. You killed your granddaughter's mother. You're evil. You're evil. You are the spawn of Satan. And the Satan is Billy Wagner. You are the evilest mother to help plan, carry out, and take the lives of 3 other mothers. My daughter was only 20, and you want 30 years of your life behind bars. 30? She was 20! 20! She never even got to buy alcohol. She got 6 months of her life with her kid. 6 months. And Hannah Mae Roden, the love of your life, Jake Wagner, the love of your life, your daughter's mother, she got 4 days. Kylie Roden got 4 days. Do you know what kind of questions I have to answer? First, it was bad people came in. Next, they seen your faces on the news. So guess what? I had to explain more. Because they're not kids, little kids no more. They're not 6 months old. They're not 4 days old. Ruger's soon to be 10. 10 years he's been without a daddy to teach him how to fish, to teach him how to hunt, to do all the man things. He has to depend on uncles, cousins. Because of you, Jake. Greedy Jake Wagner. You. I want you to suffer. This is what I want. And I've told all of BCI. I want your mother to live and you boys to die as well as your dad. I want you to die so your mom feels the heartache of what it's like to bury a child. It's a heartache that never goes away. I hate you. You ruined my life. You ruined innocent children's lives. I hope you die. I pray every day you die. I pray your grandchildren and your children never want anything to do with you. And I hope they never do. I hope your daughter hates you with a passion and as much heart as I hate you, Jake Wagner. You shook my hand and acted as if you was my fucking friend. After you shot my daughter 5 times in the head. 5 times, man, Wagner, son laid between them. And Hannah Mae, she's holding her little girl. And you shot her. How cold and evil. You are the spawn of Satan. I'll say it again. Spawns of Satan, you and your brother. And you, evilness, created them. And Miss Rita, I feel so sorry for you because I know you're ashamed to have such a daughter and grandsons that evil. Because you was the first to feel the guilt and say you were sorry, and it was your Christian duty to tell the truth. So I have not very many words for you. My heart breaks for you to have such an evil, control, and spawns of Satan.
Thank you, Mr. Maker. Who's next?
Wow.
Wow.
So, yeah. Pretty
I
amazing.
mean, you know, if you were having a movie and had an actor play that part, you couldn't play. I mean, it wasn't because he wasn't playing. This was true raw emotion. The spawn of. I have no words.
Again, she was talking to actually 3 different people. You heard her mention Rita there at the end. Rita is the mother of Angela. She was also sentenced today. She had some obstruction charges, some misdemeanors, and ultimately, and she's been wearing an ankle monitor for the last, I think, 5 or 6 years, but not in custody. They basically allowed her, and she was in jail for the last 7 days, or the first 7. I'm not sure. Over the period of time she's had the monitor, she was incarcerated for about a week in the local jail. So the judge sentenced her to the max, which is 90 days, but suspended all but the time she's served, and she's got 5 years probation. And it was just, you know, she was sitting there, you know, the judge tells her what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. And she says, so am I going to jail? I mean, she just did not understand what was going on, but she is walking free, and that's Rita. And that's the woman referenced there by Ms. Shoemaker at the end when she said, I don't feel that way about you. You know, I feel sorry for you because you had this child, Angela. And then, of course, she's going off on Angela and Jake.
Yeah, the spawn of Satan. The spawn of Satan. I mean,
spawn of Satan. And Satan is George, again, Billy, the one who is about to stand trial.
Michael, I just lost your hearing. I just lost your sound, Michael Bryant. We just lost your sound, Michael Bryant. Michael Bryant, can you hear me? We lost your sound.
I can definitely hear you.
We just lost Michael Bryant's sound.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know about you, all of you who are listening to this, but really, this was just unbelievable. With regard to it. And we want to talk about what happened next. You can hear him. You can hear Michael Bryant? Okay. That's great, Missy. I guess I'm the only one who can't hear Michael Bryant. Okay.
Well, that's not very helpful.
You all can hear him. That's all that matters, is that you all can hear him. Just me, I can't hear you.
I guess I can give you sign language.
So I think we're going to be interpreting through all of you here, because
I'm going to try and do.
There you go. You're on again. You're on for me anyhow. You're on for all that counts as our viewers, and they all hear you. But now you're off for me. I don't know.
Good.
There you're back on.
Okay. So So now we're waiting for these appellate issues that are still pending. One is the fight over the change of venue, because the prosecutor doesn't want to change a venue. And it's actually being brought, this is interesting, by the family members. Now, I'm not sure they have standing to bring this kind of motion, but that is up on appeal now, because they're saying it's a hardship to go somewhere other than Pike County. Who knows until they know where it's set.
Hardship is being slaughtered in your bed. Okay,
That's a little bit worse. That's a little bit worse.
Holding a child.
But so, it's the victim's family members who are saying, we want to go to the trial, and if it's too far away, it's going to be a problem. We want it here where we know, where it is. So that's up on appeal. And also the decision this judge made to remove the death penalties from even the guy about to be tried. That's off the table too for Billy Wagner. No death penalty. So they're attacking that. Let's just say the prosecutor, I always call her Canapé, but it's Canepe. She, she's not a real fan of the judge, and I think
the judge isn't a real fan of hers.
I would agree, and he's going with the case because, again, he's a traveling judge, and he has said, "I'm on this case. Wherever it ends up, I'm on it." So it's going to be very interesting.
So there was a sentencing, right?
Well, that was the sentencing thing. So you get.
But what was the sentence to? What
that was the drama. The drama was not over Angela. That was pretty much as expected. Like I said, it was a series of different charges.
Right.
They added up the years. Some merged. Some of the charges merged. Some of them were concurrent versus consecutive. And it ended up at 30 years. Okay. And she's already got credit for 6 years. So she is, let me double check. She's 54 now. She's got to do at least 20 more, at least, maybe more. So she's going to be at a
But what about Jake?
age.
What happened, Jake?
Jake was the interesting one. Remember, the agreement going in was life without the possibility of parole. We'll take the death penalty off the table. Well, as you and I know, the judge doesn't have to rubber stamp that. He can.
I know. It comes as a shock to viewers that the judge doesn't have to.
He or she can reject it in whole, modify it, or take it. And in this case, this was interesting. I thought the judge said, "Nope, we're going to give you the chance to get out of prison at some point." Jake Wagner, and the family members, of course, not happy about that. And his allocution or statement, I'm not quite sure what it was, preaching. I won't bore you with all of that now, but it's out there. If you want to, you'll just imagine being in the courtroom as the victim family members. And this guy is preaching, really preaching to them that he's found God. And I hope that you find forgiveness. And I mean, it was just so distasteful, awkward. And the judge at a certain point said, "Mr. Wagner, you want to wrap it up?"
But then he gave him a deal, right? He gave him he gave him another benefit, right? What's the deal?
Well, he basically said after 32 years, okay, and then he will be 64, you can go to the parole board, which obviously means this is not the life without parole that the sides had agreed to. Here was the judge's reasoning. I'll get your take on this. The judge compared this penalty, life without the possibility of parole, as a plea to a cooperating witness to the fact that his older brother, George, was convicted and got life without the possibility of parole. So he said, how could a guy who went to trial, got convicted, get the same penalty as a guy who has pled guilty and agreed and has helped the state in a related case, and maybe another one coming up? That's his thinking. He basically was rewarding Jake Wagner for helping the state convict his older brother and probably his father.
So well. Right. I don't think that went over so well because the deal that he got was that the death penalty was off the table. So, you take it as you see it, to so to speak. But, there was a time, I have to tell you, under the judge felt that kind of agreement was antiquated. Actually, it's a new kind of agreement. It used to be that cooperating witnesses always got some kind of parole eligibility. And the reason was for this. It had nothing to do with the way you can hate them. They're terrible. They're murderers. They're slaughterers. They're spawn of Satan. But when they went to prison, if they had the possibility of parole, they acted better in prison. And then it was easier for the corrections officers in jail not to have to deal with everybody that had nothing to lose, that could kill anybody in jail because you had nothing to lose. And that was the reason for giving some parole. And I'm not talking just this case. I'm talking generically. But in this case, I'm sure after eight killings, to me, this is like, we can't compare apples and oranges, but we just had a killing here at the Hilton Hotel, right? The United Healthcare killing. We had the bombing in New Orleans. You have 8 killings here of a family member of a mother holding a 4-day-old child. Oh,
And the other 6 months in between. And I don't want to lose sight of these victims. Kenneth Roden, 44 years old. Chris Roden, 40 years old. Gary Roden, I think he was also just under 40. Clarence Frankie Roden, 20. Hannah Mae Roden, you heard Ms. Shoemaker talk about Hannah Mae, 19. Chris Roden Jr., the youngest victim, 16. Dana Lynn Roden, 37. And let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, and Hannah Hazel Gilly. There were 2 Hannahs. And that was Frankie's fiance, Frankie Clarence Roden, the 20-year-old. So, all of them gunned down, 4 different murder scenes, all the same night, April 22, 2016.
just a case from hell. Seriously.
Yeah. And it's going to be relived at some point when the Billy Wagner case goes to trial. It's up in the air as to when it could be, but based on Judge Hine, I think it's going to be sooner than later, next month, next 2 months. The appellate court should get off their couch and do something, because the trial's pending until they decide on these 2 issues. And they're really not all that crazy, these issues. Change of venue, I don't see how that's going to be overturned. And then the death sentence, certainly in the purview of the parties and the judge. Again, I think they're losers, but they've got to be addressed.
They have to be addressed. All right. So we'll be following it here on Justice Served TV. It has riled everyone up. Everyone's upset.
Yeah. Anybody who watched, we were at Law and Crime when this went down in 2022. That was the George Wagner version of this case. And it's an outrageous story. Nobody'd ever believe it if you just gave them here, I got an idea for a story. Here's what happened. Get out of here. And, who'd buy that?
Right.
There's no way that would ever happen. It's not believable. Well, it is, and it did. And this next trial is going to kind of seal this whole deal. I think not a bad place to find out where justice might be. If you're wondering where in the world is justice, who knows? It might be whatever county we end up in Ohio in this case.
And thanks, Law Nerd Amber, new member. You became a new YouTube member. Thank you very much, because we've got some stuff at the end of the show we'll talk about for members that we're going to be doing in the next month. But we have a lot more on our plate, right, Michael?
Yeah, we do. Let's transition now. Let's see what. I think I have. Wait a minute. I think. Hold on. I believe I have some breaking news here.
Breaking news.
I think we do. Hold on. All right, and the breaking news is not that Dixie became a member, although that is very important as well. So here, this just handed me. Justice Served TV has been banned from the Karen Reed trial in Canton, Massachusetts.
I wonder why.
Norfolk County there.
Well, could you tell me possibly why? We've had press credentials in Sarah Boone. We've had press credentials at the YSL case, a little case 2 years going. Press credentials here in New York City.
And don't forget, yeah, that's right. That little case that just happened. Okay, so all I can do is perhaps share some of the.
We cannot hear. We have been denied a press credential. Why, Michael Bryan?
Okay,
in the Karen Reed case.
Let's find out. Let's see if I can find out. Remember, it's a pretty pro forma application, and I have to say, for Norfolk and the media people there, the worst application I've ever seen. It's a joke. I've had to answer more on a library card than what they want from you, right? So I filled it out for us, sent it in, and I got back a less than receptive response. Where did it go? Oh, I got the wrong one. Sorry. Get that one back. We'll get that one back for you. There it is. Okay. We do not accept YouTube as a news media organization.
Oh my!
Are you
have they ever
me?
heard? Are you kidding? Have they heard that YouTube is the largest provider in the world of media? As a matter of fact, there's a little group called the NFL, the National Football League, which is on YouTube, right? We even have our own microphones. But let me tell you,
that didn't matter. But if you look at any what I will call formerly traditional news organizations, because there's really no such thing anymore, they all have YouTube channels.
Right.
They all do. Okay, so I'm like, okay.
For a second, I'm going to surprise you with something, because Elon Musk just tweeted today, and too bad I didn't grab it, that we are the media, right? That the traditional media, as a matter of fact, if you go for jury duty and you're picking a jury these days, the questions the judge asks is, where do you get your news? And it's all from social media. Very few people say they read the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal to get their news. So we believe in that. So we now have a Starlink for you, Michael, because you're going to go there no matter what they're saying. And I just want to share with everybody, because here it is, a Starlink Mini. We're going to be taking with it to our Where in the World is Justice for the whole year. Elon Musk, I have to say, whether you like him or dislike him, thank you very much for this, because we will be bringing you the news. We are not unfathomed, and they haven't heard the last of us. Why is that?
That's for sure. And I remember, I was at Court TV back in the day, and they still use massive sat trucks there, and it's just, you don't need that anymore. It's just not the future. So anyway, getting back to the rejection that we got, right? I wanted to look at it because, as with anything, I'm presented with a fact pattern, and I say, okay, well, what's the law? That's really what I want to know. So as I'm looking at this note from the unnamed source, they don't even put their name on anything, right? They don't put their name on it. So as I'm looking at it, it says very clearly that they're looking at Supreme Judicial Court Rule 1:19, okay, to support their decision. So I said, okay, well, maybe I should take a look at that Supreme Court rule, right? So let's do that. Shall we do that, class?
Yeah.
Take a look at that.
I'm teaching at Harvard Law School next week for the trial advocacy workshop. Let's look at the rule of law.
Yeah, I've got to make sure I've got the right one. As you may know, I'm not in my home studio, so I'm in the process of kind of searching for the specific document that I want you to see, because it's so important. Hold on just a moment.
As you're looking for it, it's the most ridiculous thing, because we've covered all these trials. We have 500,000 impressions on YouTube. We're pretty young. We've only really started doing this officially, even though we started last February with opening the channel after we left Law and Crime. Only in September do we really start covering the cases, and really in October. And of course, you've all found us. We're here. We've been interviewing major people, and now we have come along to Massachusetts, where I tried a case. Remember, a little case called Aaron Hernandez, and we see that everybody's covering cases, and we here at Justice Serve TV get denied a press pass because they don't recognize that you could have a TV channel on YouTube in 2024 going into 2025. So, Michael, can you read us the rule of law?
I wish I could find the document, but I will tell you what it says. It says it's any organization that regularly publicizes news events, items of public interest. And then there's one last line that makes perfect sense to me. It says, this includes citizen journalists. This is their own rule. This is their rule, Supreme Court Rule 1:19. So how we don't fit into that, even in the most narrow focus, I have no idea. So I don't know. I sent back a note that I'm sure was not very nice, but at that point, what do I have to lose?
Well, you gave them copies of all our press credentials. You gave them copies of our channel, and the fact that you had people in there. It's the most ridiculous thing. Maybe we pissed them off because we were clearly not pro, shall we say, Norfolk County when we were covering it, because we thought that they had some problems how they presented the case. I don't know. There's no standards under that, and they haven't heard the last of us. We are lawyers, all right, in case somebody has.
Well, I said in my responsive email, I said, first of all, I understand with the debacle that the first trial was, that you're embarrassed to have coverage of this case. I understand that, but there will be no better qualified people in that courtroom to cover this case. So, I got nothing for you.
Okay, so that's
we'll
our
be there.
breaking news of the day.
We'll be there,
and
we'll be covering it, whether they like it or not. Okay. So speaking of Karen Reed, the prosecution keeps doing their best to water down this case, to make it go away. In their latest salvo, we know there's been an attack on the dog bite expert. In fact, next Tuesday, that expert's testimony will continue because cross-examination was just beginning with the new prosecutor.
Right.
But in the meantime, yesterday, they filed another document. They're trying to get rid of the expert who testified about those interesting searches that were done sometime overnight. I can say that much, I guess, either at 2:27 a.m. or at 6:30 in the morning on the telephone. Whose phone is that again? I've forgotten again. Jennifer McCabe. Jennifer McCabe. So it's on her
I have the
phone.
motion right here.
It's on her phone. And so they think that this expert who has basically accused Ms. McCabe of lying, right, about when the search was made. Remember, her testimony was basically that morning, Karen Reed asked her to do those searches, right?
Right.
Well, if there's evidence that at 2:27 those searches were done on McCabe's phone by perhaps Ms. McCabe, why would she be doing that unless she already knew that John O'Keefe was in the snow or was going to be in the snow or had been in the snow for a significant period of time and might either die or be dying? So they want to get rid of that expert because that expert makes it look like, she was lying, making stuff up and then trying to delete it. So what's the deal with the new Cellbrite? Cellbrite is like, oh my God, it's Cellbrite. We can't dispute Cellbrite. What's the latest on that and how it relates to this prosecution motion? Can you hear me? Hello?
Oh, yes. So you want me to answer that?
Wake up.
You want me to?
I'm just throwing it out there.
All right. So the Commonwealth filed a motion to exclude defense witness Richard Green's debunked opinions because they said that he used Cellbrite, and Cellbrite has now gotten rid of the timestamp because the timestamp isn't valid in the Cellbrite software. So it's unbelievable that all of a sudden that's here you go. There you got a copy of the motion I'm looking at. And that's on the searches were how long to die in CIKD, how long to die in cold. Those are the two searches we're talking about. And so what they're saying is, therefore, the underpinning of his testimony can't be right because Cellbrite's now removed that software. I mean, it was that portion of the software that stored the data that he testified to, but that was their data at the time. So what the heck is going on here, then, Michael Bryant? I don't get it. All right?
It makes it sound like the Cellbrite stuff is bad, and now we're admitting it's bad. So just ignore any timestamps that you find on anything that you find using Cellbrite.
Right.
And I don't even think that's a great argument. And of course, the question becomes: does it go to the weight of this witness's testimony, or should the testimony be excluded? Right.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think it would be important if we just, for a few minutes anyway, took a look at some of the testimony from Mr. Green. Remember, he testified. I'm trying to remember what day of the trial he testified, how deep we were into the mix. Obviously, it is the defense case, but let's listen to a few minutes of this. And this part of it gets right to the heart of Cellbrite, those statements that he believes that Jen McCabe deleted and incriminate her. So let's watch
So
that.
now I'd like to switch, if we can, to Jennifer McCabe's phone and your analysis of that. During the course of your examination, when you reviewed data from her phone, did you find a particular artifact of interest?
Yes, I did.
What did you find?
We found a Google search that happened. First of all, the search was how long to die in cold, and it happened at or before 2:27 a.m.
All right. Where was that search found?
Sure. So the artifact on that was called a Safari Suspended Tabs artifact, and there's a database associated with that called the Browser DB database, and in a company file, which is by the same name but ends in WAL, which stands for Write Ahead Log. And the Write Ahead Log is where the data first gets written to, and then at certain points, that data then gets committed and written to the main database.
All right. So that, if I'm correct, that browserstate.db/wall file, that's a temporary file, right?
It's temporary by nature, but it's not. It's integral. It's part of the way the SQLite functions. So it's not like a throwaway file. It's part of the way the whole system works.
And is it helpful to you when evaluating artifacts?
Certainly, yeah. The just by nature of it, we'll find a lot of the newest artifacts in that wall file.
Now, how do you determine the timing in terms of the timestamp on the browserstate.db wall file?
Sure. So the wall file has different rows and columns. You can kind of think of it as an Excel spreadsheet. And in this one particular column, had it was a time column. That'd be the nature of the data going into it. And this the heading on this particular one was last viewed time.
Okay. Regarding that Google search for HOS long, and I say HOS, HOS long to dry
Correct.
and cold, found in the browser state DB wall file, what was the date and time for that artifact?
Sure. So that's recorded in what's called Apicocoa time, and it's actually the number of seconds since January 1st, 2001. So you end up with this large number, but that gets converted to present to us something that's human readable, and then you have to apply the offset for the local. So once you do all those calculations, that's where we get the January 29th, 2022 at 2:27
Okay.
in the morning.
The specific, do you remember the number of seconds after?
I believe it's 40 seconds.
2:27, 40 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. And in what state did you find that artifact?
Yeah, so the specific artifact, or it comes from a record, and the record number on this is 4028, I believe, and it was in a deleted state.
Okay. Now, what would you normally expect to find along with the artifact, sir?
So you'd have the date and time, the URL, which the way the URL presents itself, we know that it's a Google search, but you also see a history of other places that tab has been.
And with this particular artifact, did you learn the full internet history of websites related to that record?
No, that wasn't possible. We were only able to get the one website. I would say,
And I'm sorry,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I interrupted you. Sorry.
Well, no, so we definitely got the one artifact, the Google search, and we have the time related to it, but we do not know everywhere else that tab had been.
What significance was there to you about the fact that the full internet history related to that record could not be recovered?
Well, I wanted to do a little deeper dive into that, and so I used some various other database specific tools. One was called Belkasoft X, which has an excellent database viewer in it. Sanderson Forensics, which is known to specialize in this type of work, and
ArtX?
I'm sorry?
ArtX?
You saved me. Yes, ArtX, which is a program known in the community for research.
And how did you sort of cross-reference the three of those together? How did you use them?
Yeah, so all three of those tools, along with Axiom and Cellbrite, which they do have a low-level SQL viewer as well. So I looked at the data with all 5 of those tools, and I found it to be consistent amongst all the tools.
Okay, let's comment
Stop.
on this
Yeah,
real quick,
right.
like here.
Yeah.
First of all, do you like this guy?
Yeah, he's explaining as much as you can explain Cellbrite and all this stuff. I mean, so now the state wants to have a Lanigan hearing. Really, if you look at the end of it, they want to, which is really a Daubert. Excuse me, Michael Bryan. It is pronounced Daubert. Okay? Yeah. Hearing all the things we've talked about in the past. So what are we going to do? He's already testified once. You know, at the hearing, why do you need a Daubert hearing when you didn't even have an affidavit? You don't have anything from Cellbrite. What are you going to do? Bring Cellbrite in to comment on his testimony? Then is Cellbrite becoming an advocate for the state? I don't think they're going to do that, even though they sell most of their programs to law enforcement.
Yeah, and we'll see, because the court has not ruled, but we kind of felt the same way about the dog bite expert. And yet here we are in the middle of a hearing with Dr. Harris, I think her name is, in the dog bite expertise. And that'll, again, it'll wrap up on Tuesday. So this guy, you like him, his demeanor, he's kind of folksy, you know, not too
I think this goes
arrogant.
the way to the testimony. And
I agree.
I think it's ridiculous.
I agree 100%.
at this point.
So he's getting into, you know, some of the specifics about the whole thing with tabs. Now those tabs mean nothing. The timestamps mean, well, then Cellbrite means nothing.
Yeah.
But let's listen
Right.
to his, again, this is the
Dr. Russell,
specific
Dr. Russell.
testimony This is what prosecution wants out.
And in addition to using those tools, what else did you do?
So I wanted to get a little more context. One thing with this artifact, it is deleted. And one thing about deleted data, sometimes you get it all back, sometimes you don't, sometimes you get a fragment. Deleted data makes it very difficult to give you the whole picture of what's happening. So in this particular case, I wanted to see what other artifacts were around this time as it related to web history, and particularly this browser database file.
And so what do you compare the 2:27 a.m. search to in order to gain more information?
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
What the information was. So what we found is that when we looked at a particular URL, a particular website that was visited, and then searched using that URL, the browser state database entry is the last entry in all of that. So we could see searches, videos playing. There's an artifact called knowledge C that records the user's activity, but the browser state is the very last entry on the items that we observed.
And did you find other examples of that you can speak to before this jury?
Yes, I believe we have one printed out there.
Okay. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
So they can finally put up some documents.
Yeah, I think
to
that,
kind of see.
I think our viewers get the idea of what's going on here. By the way, shout out to Cat Not Williams, a new member. Shout out to Cat Not Williams, a new member. Thank you very much. And we're very happy. But this is ridiculous. I mean, this is such a waste of time to then have a Lanigan hearing because of something Sellbright did afterwards.
Yeah, no, it's bizarre. It's ex post facto. It's just, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to apply a standard that didn't exist at the time. Now, they could get into it with his testimony and ask about the new stuff. Did you know this? Did you know this? What about this? How does this affect your opinion? That's fine. They can do that.
Right.
But as we've said, that goes to the weight, not the admissibility. So.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
And I'm going to be up there, whether they like it or not.
We're going to be covering it, whether they like it or not, because they can't prevent us from being outside of the courthouse. They can't even prevent us from being in the courtroom as citizens.
I asked, I said, well, maybe I'll just come as somebody from the public. You do still let the public in, right? So I don't know. It is kind of a tiny courtroom, and it is always packed. But fine, then have an overflow.
Have an overflow, right? Have an overflow, like the rest of the world does.
It's so. I mean, let's face it, though. Is anybody surprised? Based on their antics, their self-importance, the way they run their little fiefdom, like they can do whatever they want, whenever they want. Of course not.
Yes,
this is right in line.
They provided their own standards under the judicial court rule. That
and then they violate their own standards.
And then it's not a valid media source. Yeah. Unbelievable.
I mean, the best thing you can say about them is they're behind the times, but they've acknowledged it in their own rules, and then they're not following their own rules. Yeah. I don't know. I don't take it personally, but I will at some point. Okay, so let's move on. Oh, we have, speaking of somebody taking something personally, anybody remember Sarah Boone?
Yeah.
Remember Sarah Boone?
Of course,
yes, the woman, of course, ultimately found guilty in the death of her boyfriend, who zipped himself in a suitcase, and then she refused to let him out. He suffocated, and she was found guilty, even though she turned down a 15-year plea deal. She's now doing life. And because they don't have parole in Florida, basically she's done. Okay, so when we were looking at this case, and we went down there, where in the world is justice, I'm gleaning both from our coverage and my being down there. Nobody likes this woman. And one of the reasons I don't think the case resonated as well as some cases do, let's face it, Karen Reed has some unlikable qualities as well. But people are nutso about the case, in part because of the Commonwealth, the law enforcement involved, et cetera. But in Sarah Boone, everywhere I went, everybody I talked to, everything I read, everything I researched, they just did not like her, even though her ultimate excuse may have been plausible. And I think she basically said, I fell asleep, didn't even think about it, woke up the next morning, he's dead. that wasn't it. They just don't like her. She's just arrogant. And, we've heard her testify. It didn't help herself, obviously. And so I don't like to use the word hate very often because that's a strong word. I don't really hate much. I dislike, I disapprove. I'm just, I'm annoyed by things. I don't hate a lot of things except the Dodgers. I hate the Dodgers. Sorry. So when I posted one of our kind of end of year specials, and I reran the Little Man on the Street thing there, where I also learned of people who weren't really excited about what she had at that time allegedly done, later convicted of. It just reinforced to me that, nobody likes her. So that was the headline. Everybody hates Sarah Boone. Now, I'm going to try and, again, I'm on foreign soil here, and it's a lovely place. I will tell you that. It's a lovely place. But it makes, I hear the clock chiming. It makes it harder to find some of my goodies here. So please bear with me. Okay, so I think we did, is it this one? No, we didn't. It's not that one either.
This is what you get for surprising me with the mug and the
I know, but
the mug and all. This is what you get.
But it was worth it.
Makes your life
It was worth
harder.
it.
Yeah.
It was worth it. So what we did, as folks may recall, is we reposted that Man on the Street, and I said, everybody hates Sarah Boone, and then went on to explain why, right? Well, it turns out, I guess not everybody hates Sarah Boone, because we got a note from someone who believes that not everyone hates Sarah Boone. Of course, that was Sarah Boone. So
Sarah Boone responded to our podcast. Okay, take that, Norfolk County, Massachusetts. Even defendants are responding to our podcast.
I'm not sure. Is that good or bad? I'm not sure if that's good or bad. But nonetheless, we're definitely working on getting an interview with her now. Just
yes.
I would be happy to ask her, Ms. Boone, why don't people hate you? What makes you likable? I think that's an issue. So
yes, but she's
anyway,
responding, and there we are. And she found this on YouTube. Oh my!
Oh, YouTube.
Yay.
I don't even know what that is. What is that YouTube thing?
YouTube, right?
It's just so weird. I don't know. Oh, I know what I forgot to do, and I'm going to do it right now. Stand by. Okay. Anything more to say about Sarah Boone before we move on?
No, we're going to talk about her in the future.
Okay. And I say that because we have a special segment, and we have a special guest, and I've invited the special guest, but I was a little tardy on the invite. So we're going to wait for her to check in, and then we're going to bring her in. Let's talk about this new feature, though. It's called True Crime Person of the Week. That's kind of our loose description. It's definitely Person of the Week.
It could be True Crime Person of the Week. It could be, matter of fact, we're ready for you. We are ready for you.
So what we decided was, and we got a great graphic put together. And by the way, just like the breaking news, Missy does a great job with these different graphics. And so we had this graphic for Person of the Week, and I was trying to think what kind of music to add to it, to add a little gravitas, because if we're having somebody on as the Person of the Week, then they've done something, right? There's something that we think should be recognized. So that explains the music that I've chosen. And it maybe some might think it's over the top. I don't know. And I'm hoping I can find it. So, because I think I see that she
said she's there. Yep, she's here.
She's standing by. So let's
she's there. Okay.
Let's listen to some theme music and bring
and I'm actually
on.
I'm going to celebrate her because
eyes like fire, hearts alight. Drums of war beat through the night.
I'm celebrating her.
What a sight. Oh, brave souls in the storm. Raise your swords, no more to mourn. Giant hearts in battles born. Legends forged and never torn.
Okay, if that doesn't fire you up about the importance of the struggle for justice, it is often a literal battle. And so we have decided we should recognize those that are putting in the time to battle.
This is our first person that we've chosen.
That's right. So I'm going to let you do the quick introduction, and I will bring her on.
Ikiesha Al-Shabazzas, fighting a lawyer, fabulous lawyer. She fought 7 years for her mother, Janet, against the Social Security Administration because her mother was disabled after serving all these years. She's a law professor. She is just a great attorney. She's a badass, okay? And that's why I'm wearing a badass jacket. But also, she said, I don't know how to do this, but she had to go to federal court, everybody, okay? This is what the system's become. This is why people hate the system. When you have a lawyer who has to fight for her mom, who gave her whole life to working, and then can't even be recognized. Ikiesha, I'll let you tell the story about your mom, Janet. Welcome. We are so happy to have you. I'm so happy to see you. I'm going to say Happy New Year to you because I'm sure that decision was a Happy New Year decision.
Yes. Happy New Year. Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you, Mike.
Likewise. Yeah. So tell us who the villain was and how it all unfolded.
Okay. So the villain was actually my mother's former employer. So she worked for 30 years for the Social Security Administration. And during her time there, she suffered a stroke. She thought she'd be able to go back to work after the first stroke, suffered another stroke, and was forced to retire. She was not of retirement age, so she applied for disability. That's when she was denied. And that started our 7-year battle for her disability benefits. That culminated in the decision that we received at the end of December, like December 27th, 28th, which gave her a favorable decision in its entirety and entitled her to back pay for most of all of those years.
Okay, so let's back up here.
Right, you back up, right, yeah.
Let's back up. She worked for the Social Security Administration.
Yes.
And they denied her disability. What there had to be some very
under Social Security,
well-reasoned,
right? Under Social Security, they denied.
Yeah, disability under Social Security.
Yes, under Social Security.
So what was their well-reasoned rejection?
That she was not disabled.
That
was that even though she had documented medical records from not only her neurologist, from a neurologist specialist, she had MRIs and imaging that showed she had cerebral vascular injury, which is what is the category. And the judge said, the first judge that denied her, he said, the medical records seem to suggest that she does have the injuries, but she testified that she drives. But she never did. She didn't though. But she didn't. She never said that.
Lied?
See, and that's the thing. It's I don't know if that's a part of implicit bias where there are some white people who think, black people, you guys are extra strong. There's no way that you're disabled. Right? That happens in the medical industry, but it also happens in other industries, right? And I don't know what part of that made him hear her say that. But of course, there's a transcript. So part of my appeal just to within the administrative process, right? Because you can't go to federal court until you exhaust your administrative remedies. So part of my asking them to review this at the appeals council stage was to read the transcript, listen to the audio, because it was during COVID. So it was over audio. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he didn't hear things properly. They didn't do anything. They didn't listen to anything. They just summarily denied that appeal, right? So that took 4 years just to exhaust the administrative remedies.
That's how long it took?
I did not file for relief in federal court until May of 2021. So we were in federal court for 2 years. That got remanded back. And then the hearing on the remand from federal court was May 2023 in front of the same damn judge.
The judge who denied the benefits to begin with, hearing something
yes.
that they didn't hear.
Yes.
By the way, Ike, before we go on, to give us your handle on Twitter, because I know there was a thread unrolled all on this too.
Yes.
If you want to go back. What is your handle?
I think it's ATTY. IKIE Speaks, SPEAK. I think it's that. But if you look up Ike Speaks, you'll find it. Okay, good. Just know, I tell everybody Ike Speaks, you'll find it under IKIE Speaks. Ike Speaks. So I think that's it. But yeah, so it was a very long battle.
Then what happened? Then what happened? He's the same judge. You get him
same
off?
Judge. So no, I at this point, because part of during this process, he had made comments about my presence. He had made comments about the claimant's daughter is a lawyer. And the way
But
he
you're
said
not
it
a
was
Social
a bit.
Security lawyer.
I
What's
know,
your
but the way
specialty?
it rubbed him, it didn't sit well with him. So I did not want to go back in there. So I got a friend of mine who's also an attorney, and he went in for me. And at this juncture, the judge looks at my mom. He's like, "Oh, she's clearly disabled." And in fact, we're going to dispense with the vocational expert, which, you know, they typically call in to say whether or not there are any employment in the marketplace. Oh, we don't even need to have the vocational expert. Oh, great. I'm thinking, great. The lawyer's like, I don't even need to call you. He doesn't even need to hear testimony from you to say what's going on. Nothing. Okay, good. We wait. I'm thinking we got a shoe in now. We're good, right? He knows I'll go to court. He's not going to. So 6 months after that, I'm like, where's the decision? This is the end of 24. I'm thinking we don't have. He sends us a letter saying, I'm going to rely on a vocational specialist now. Here's his CV. And if you have any objections, let me know. We'll have another hearing. We'll have another hearing, Linda.
Another hearing?
Another hearing, because I'm entitled to cross-examine the vocational expert that you dispensed with at the hearing. So now we got to have another hearing. And I'll tell you, every hearing they schedule, there's at least a 4 to 6 window for how they schedule it. So luckily there was another judge. I got another judge, some by the grace of God. I got another judge before that next hearing came, and she stepped in and she looked at all of this and said, I don't know what the hell is going on. But this woman is disabled, and she issued a 12-page decision, and she literally blasted the experts that said my mom was not disabled. She pointed to all of the medical documentation, every exhibit that demonstrates that she is not only disabled, but all of the symptoms as a result of her disability, that she can and cannot do, that she can't ambulate, she can't stand, that she can't walk without a cane. These are the things that were already in the medical records. But
I have a question.
overlooked.
I have a question. What would your mom have done if you hadn't been her daughter?
She would have gotten nothing. She would have given up a long time ago. She would have gotten nothing.
So what? Tell us about that moment when, Mom, guess what? How did that go?
Well, the first denial, we get the letter in the mail, and I'm like, Mom, they denied you, and she just was like, they denied it, and she just crashed, like her whole world crumbled, and I was like, okay, don't worry, we'll appeal. This is 2020, this is 2017, 2018. At that point, we'll appeal. And then every time I just said, Mom, we're going to keep fighting. I just want to give her hope. Let her know, we're going to keep fighting. Denial after denial after denial. Schlepping her up to the courthouse so that she could have a hearing in person. Because I'm like, the phone doesn't do it. You need to see her. And even that wasn't enough.
Okay, so now you get the final decision. This new judge looks at it and says, what the hell's going on here? Let's do the right thing. And then you have that conversation. Tell us about that.
So when we finally get the decision, and I'm like, they finally, you see me smiling because it's been a long road. Finally, we just hugged. I cried. I'm not going to kid you. I cried because it was like, the culmination of all the work, all the stress, all the frustration of just trying to be heard, to finally be validated in that moment. And I don't know that she was there with me in it, but she wasn't writing the motion. She wasn't doing the litigating, that part. She didn't get to feel what that was like, so I don't know that she appreciated that side of it, but she was definitely thankful and relieved that this battle is now over.
And if it's you, it's got to be other people. I mean, Michael and I talked about this week. We were talking about we want to do a person of the week, a true crime person of the week. It doesn't have to be true crime. It can be whatever.
This was a crime, though, in my opinion. This was
I agree.
I agree. But you're not the criminal, and neither is your mom.
Right. But what they were doing was definitely a crime.
What they were doing was absolutely crime, and that's what people don't understand. That's why this whole United Healthcare, even though it was a homicide, that's why it's resonated with people, because
so
everyone
many
feels
people.
they have no say in their care, their health care, their benefits. And this is a perfect example of that.
And it resonated. A friend of mine said you should share your story because this has been a private hell. I didn't want to share it for fear that some judge would be like, yeah, you want to share it? Okay, I'll show you. Right. So private hell. And I have a YouTube channel with 12,000 subscribers, and I
Right.
had been able to share this.
Right,
So
right.
so it's good now to be able to talk about it. And so when I did share it, it blew up 14 million
Good
views
for
on
you. Good for
That
your
is
mom, Janet, and good for you.
insane.
And
Right?
people have to understand, Ikea is a well-known attorney. She's a law professor. Her husband's a retired New York City police
Oh,
officer.
right?
Right?
Okay. He was
Not
my
husband, but
fiance. He's not
my
around
fiance.
anymore.
Well, he
Oh.
was. He was. He was. He was.
He
Okay.
was. He was. He was. He
He
was.
was retired. But what I'm
Yes.
saying to you that you are a normal life,
Yeah.
working hard, normal
Yeah.
family, and you go through this.
Right.
Excuse me. Shit. Excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me
And
ask you this,
thousands-
because your mom was lucky enough to have you there
Yeah,
and
yeah.
your expertise. And obviously, there's a myth that when you walk out of law school, you know all kinds of
You
law,
know,
every
right.
level, every court, which is crazy. It's like you barely get a driver's license, and
Right.
then you learn the rest on the way. So,
Right.
but to have you with your legal background to help, is there another source out there for people that might have similar problems?
I don't know, but I plan to look into it and try as hard as I can to be that source, right? To use my platform to inform people. I didn't know that this was an issue in the way it is. I didn't know, right? So you don't know until you have to be confronted with something, And so based on that tweet, I see thousands and thousands of people commenting who are having the same dilemma, having the same experience, and they don't have a daughter who's a lawyer, right?
Yep.
So
Right.
if I can be of service in that way, I want to be able to. So I'm going to use this to try to inform people. I call myself a legal informationalist,
I
right?
love
This
it.
is
I
not
love
legal
it.
advice, but information is power.
Yeah,
It's
that's
power,
right.
right?
And
so if I-
also, your mom had lucky to have a family that supported her through this, through the
Yes,
7 years. What if she
definitely.
didn't have her benefits? I mean,
Right.
I wanted to throw up when I read
Yeah,
this, when I
yeah.
read the story. And I know
It's
Michael's going to
tough.
cut this piece of the segment so we can play it separately afterwards.
Yes, we will.
Separately, because the more you talk about it,
Yeah.
I just can't.
Yeah.
I have no words. Again, I have no words for what's going on.
Right, because this is when you get to this level of the appellate process, I think the success rate is somewhere between 2 and 8%.
Oh wow!
So almost nil, because they give so much deference to the administrative law judge's decision.
Yeah. And their decision seems to be default denied.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Make me change my mind. Denied.
Mhm.
Wow. So how's mom today? Right now, how's she doing?
Mom's spirits are good. She's good. My mother is a walking miracle throughout this process. She had 2 more strokes, so she's had 4 strokes in total. But she still can, get around on her own. She, with the use of her cane, and she still can, and she's still here. That's, she's still here, and I'm very grateful for that, because a lot of people die waiting for their disability benefits, and I think that's part of their calculations, is that when you'll either give up or you'll die.
Yep.
Right. And so I'm very grateful that she I think she was too stubborn to die. She's like, they gonna give me this money.
She's got love from you, and she's got
Right.
obviously God on her side, and between the 4 of you together,
Yeah.
I mean, and also, God bless the judge who finally came through.
Yes.
And
Yes.
this is not right.
And so I'm going to do more on my channel and get more specifics and show some of the decisions, without revealing too much. And I'm going to let them know who the judges are.
Good.
I'm gonna let them know.
Where can everybody find you? Where can we find
So
your channel?
right here on YouTube, Ike Speaks.
I can
Ike
speak,
Speaks
and
on
then
YouTube.
let us know, and tag us. We'll retweet everything that you try to
Yes,
do with regard to this,
absolutely.
because you have to get that information out through
Indeed.
all of your sources, friends, and all. Even if Norfolk County, I'll go back to it, Massachusetts,
I
does
saw
not think
that.
that YouTube is a real
Yeah,
media.
YouTube.
Very
What is
much
that?
real media. They need to catch up. They need to catch up
Yes.
for real.
Well, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much
What a
for
great way to
having me.
launch this new feature. Well deserved.
honored.
Keep fighting the good fight.
you.
Anybody working with you is very lucky to have you in their corner. I'll tell you
Thank
that.
you.
I'm so
Thank you.
proud to have met Ike when we were at Law and Crime, and
Yes.
bonded
Always
with
a
her
fun thing over there.
immediately,
Yes.
and,
We always have a good time over there.
just love her, and just look her up.
Thank
right.
you. Thank you,
Thanks.
guys. Thank you so
Take
much.
care.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.
I love her. I love
like
her.
the-
I
I
don't
do
like the
too.
story. I like the ending, but I
Well,
don't like
it's-
the story.
I mean, of course, it is truly a happy ending. So I like this new feature. I think we should keep doing that.
So
think-
we have another thing that's going to be, we want to talk about just before we go. And I know we didn't get to Fani Willis. I think we're going to save Fani Willis. She had a bad week, but we have spoken to Fani Willis. Had a bad week. She's lost two things, you know.
But she's still fighting. Doggone her. She won't give up.
Yeah, and she attacked the Attorney General of the state of Georgia for saying that, you know, she should give up. And that led to our friend Ashley Merchant. If you go to her Twitter, her X account, talking about Fani Willis. And we're going to talk more about that. Ashley is on vacation. I will be teaching next week. So maybe the week after we get back, we'll go into a deep dive, a deep show on that. But Michael, I have one more thing I want to say before we go. We're also going to launch for our members within the next month, in the month of January, and we'll start with our members, and then it'll probably branch out. We're going to try to solve an old case, and I say an old case is a friend of mine came to me and said, "Look, I was a youngster, I was a teenager when this 15-year-old girl in a small town in Oregon where I lived went missing, and no one cared about her. She went missing in July of 1968. She was found in March of 1969 among a wooded area, 150 feet off the road in the woods. They couldn't determine a cause of death because she was so, at that time, had been in the woods for so long." And he said, "She's a ghost. I can't find anything about her." Well, we got a little start with that. He gave me her name. I have her first name Stephanie. And I have actually found her death certificate. I have found who her family is and a lot of other things about her. And we're going to call her the ghost victim, because no one cared, according to my friend. No one cared enough to find out what happened to her. So I know here at Justice Served TV, we're going to care about Stephanie. We'll reveal her name. We'll have more in a couple weeks when I get this all together. It'll start with our members to see what you can dig up, and hopefully we'll go from there, and we will find out who killed our ghost victim and what happened to her. And I say who killed. Maybe it turns out it was herself, but I don't think so. We need some answers for a 15-year-old girl who's missing for 8 or 9 months and is found 150 feet off the roadway in a wooded area from where she was last seen.
Sounds good. I think we've got some very smart folks out there that can help us.
So join Justice Served TV, and you'll be the first to know about and getting a crack at this case.
All right. Well, good to have you back. Oh wait, I can yell this. I can just yell, and you can hear me. Can you hear me in the other room? Yeah, in my New York City visit. So yeah, good to be back at it.
Thank you.
A few days off. Harvard has an upgrade next week when you're going to be there. They've had a rough 12 months, so I think it's good that you're going to be there to help resurrect their reputation.
Trial advocacy, right?
And we will muddle along here. You're going to try and get a couple of guest hosts to fill your large Louis, what are those shoes called?
No, Chanel.
Oh, your Chanel shoes today? Okay.
Well, actually, I have Uggs on today.
Oh, all right. Okay. Just a regular person. Okay. We're going to work on that. And in the meantime, I'm Michael Bryant. Please try to do the right thing.
And I'm Linda Kenny Baden. And together we are Justice Served TV. And if you've liked what you've seen, please subscribe, like, share, and hit that notify button. And we'll see you next time.